3,129 children were abused in 2020, which represents a 16.6% decrease in reported cases when compared to 2019. However, the figure is still too high according to the Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad. The chilling report compiled by the Child Care and Protection Agency also revealed that between January and December 2020, 3,129 children between ages 0 to 18 were either abused physically, sexually, verbally, neglected, abandoned, or witnessed abuse. Of the 3,129 cases, 1,698 were girls. During an exclusive interview with Nightly News, Minister Prasad stated that she is deeply horrified by the figures.
Child abuse is of concern to me and will always be of concern to me, and the figures showing over 3,000 cases, 3,169 cases to be precise, of abuse that occurred from January to December 2020 brings home forcibly to me, and I'm sure to everyone else, the need for a number of interventions, education and awareness. This has been an ongoing project through the ministry, advising persons, one, of the recourse that they have to the Child Protection Agency whenever there's an issue with their child.
Further, the disturbing data highlighted that some 688 girls between the ages of 14 and 18 were sexually abused. Overall, 632 girls were neglected, 258 were physically abused, 104 experienced verbal abuse, 12 witnessed abuse, and 4 were abandoned. Meanwhile, neglect was the most common type of abuse among boys, and out of the 751 cases reported, 674 between the ages of 0 to 13 were neglected. And while 1,431 boys were abused in total, 432 of them were physically abused, 127 abused sexually, 102 verbally abused, 10 abandoned, and 4 witnessed some sort of abuse. Against the backdrop of these figures, the minister noted the urgent need for parents to educate their children of the do's and don'ts.
Once you put a child in contact with all of these people, you're opening that child to anything. So one, parents need to educate their children on what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, where they shouldn't be touched. It is a conversation, unfortunately, that parents need to have with children.
Alarmingly, 42% of the 2,828 perpetrators who committed these heinous acts were mothers.
Many of the cases, when we looked at the figures, the highest percentage showed that mothers were persons who perpetrated the most abuse. And of course, abuse can mean many things, from physical to sexual to neglect. And in fact, the highest number in the lineup would have been neglect.
The data showed that fathers, stepfathers, grandparents, relatives, and family friends were also the main perpetrators of abuse against children. Minister Prasad urged parents to believe when a child complains about any instance of violence.
Then you're really, really doing irreparable harm to that child, because that child will have psychological scars that will take them to adulthood. But more worrying is that they'll be left in the clutches of the predators and the perpetrators out there. Because every time a child is dismissed, they're still open to that abuse from whoever is carrying on that abuse to the child.
In 2019, 3,752 child abuse cases were reported, with 1,729 of those cases being child neglect and 890 being cases of sexual nature. For the HGP Nightly News, Amel Griffith.